Hello there, I'm Haruka, coming to you straight from Tokyo. Yes, I'm that Japanese crossdresser, active on TikTok and YouTube alike. Today, I'm sharing a clip from a dinner I enjoyed last year at the Regal Royal Hotel. Now, fair warning, the video runs a tidy 14 minutes, so please check the chapter details in the description and jump to the bits that tickle your fancy. Of course, you're free to watch it all the way through if you so wish. For those new to my little corner of the web, allow me a brief introduction. I'm Haruka, a proud Japanese crossdresser who posts daily. I've now racked up over 1,000 videos, and yes, I even run a membership, from a modest $4.99 up to $14.99, designed to remind old friends of who I am. Now, about this dinner. I simply adore dining in a luxury hotel room. There's something so decadent about it. Tonight's feature is a Japanese-style grated daikon hamburger. Picture this. The crisp, fresh zest of grated daikon and shiso leaves gently taming the robust, rugged flavor of the meat. I'm utterly smitten with processed meats. Hamburgers, sausages, bacon, you name it. If you're a fellow devotee of fine processed meats, do drop a comment and tell me which sausage reigns supreme. Some folks claim that any meat can taste brilliant if you process it right. I say it's not that simple. For me, a truly delightful bite comes only when you have quality meat, a charming venue, and, dare I say, a splendid gentleman by your side. In Tokyo, I must tip my hat to Carneya, near Ushigome Kagurazaka on the Toei-Uedo line. They offer a grand selection of wines and adjust the seasoning of the meat to suit your chosen wine. Simply smashing. And then, there's Fumiya, in Asakusa, a yakiniku joint run by a family, where the meat quality is beyond reproach. Fun fact, Asakusa is a veritable battleground for top-notch grilled meat. And on a side note, while I'm a connoisseur of fine spirits, I'm rather weak with drink. So if you fancy a spot of company, do treat me to some good booze. Though I do love processed meats, I've savoured many unprocessed cuts too. Japan's culinary scene is a veritable smorgasbord. Beef, pork, lamb, chicken are standard fare. In some corners, you'll even find wild boar, horse, venison, or rabbit. Abroad, I've nibbled on frog in Shanghai and Brussels, alligator in Senegal, and even kiwi, a creature much like a guinea pig, in Ecuador. Lately, I've also been sampling alternative meats. IKEA Japan, for instance, is rolling out a curry made with them. Now, if you're not keen on meat for any reason, I do apologize if this topic isn't your cup of tea, but if you're a fellow meat lover, do share what splendid meats you've tried. Let's have a proper chinwag about it. Food, as with meat, varies wildly from place to place. I've been fortunate enough to travel to over 40 countries, sampling refined flavors in Europe, spice-laden dishes in the Middle East, the distinct tastes of Southeast Asia and Latin America, time-honored flavors in China, hearty, robust fare in America, and even avant-garde, local nosh that defies description, but is undeniably delicious. I fancy myself as one who embraces all tastes. I dare say there's nothing I truly dislike. I still dream of dining at NOMA in Denmark, though I've yet to make it there. They sometimes pop up in Kyoto, but the bookings are as scarce as hen's teeth. Do send along a companion if you'd be so kind. Belgium, however, holds a special place in my heart. It feels as though a mix of all of Europe's finest cultures coalesce there. Belgian beer, mussels and fries. Need I say more? Even frog fritters are divine, and there's an eel stew with green sauce that's quite the oddity, yet thoroughly enjoyable. In Bruges, there's a stew called waterzui that is simply so scrumptious, I find myself returning time and again. I wonder, when shall I next indulge? Now, while I have a palate that relishes diversity, I must confess that not every culinary adventure has been a triumph. For instance, at a market in Oaxaca, Mexico, I once tried cricket tsukudani. It was sour, spicy, and rather overpowering, and I nearly choked on it. The lady who recommended it had a hearty laugh, so perhaps she found it amusing. If anyone felt affronted, I do apologize. The market, though, offers wonders like fine chocolate and herbal tea alongside such peculiar treats. One more note. I tried Filipino food right here in Japan. In Sumida, Tokyo, there's a bustling Filipino community with a restaurant that serves authentic local flavors. At dinner, when the Japanese crowd is thick, the food is superb. But as the night wears on and the Filipino diners take over, the flavors become so rooted in the homeland that while visually lively, they lose the balance of taste. They serve large river fish stuffed with veggies and rice, all in a banana ketchup sauce, and then there's a fried fish that, despite its hearty appearance, is awfully bland. I learned that texture alone does not a fine dish make. Taste must follow suit. Now, I often try to recall why I grew so fond of eating, but alas, no single memory or spark leaps to mind. I simply cannot say, this is it. It's ever so maddening. If I must hazard a guess, perhaps it was that first taste of pasta in Italy. Back then, I was gallivanting around Europe with a Eurail pass, hopping on night trains, flitting from one city to the next. I still remember a quaint cafe in Venice, where I was so taken by a plate of pasta with Genoese sauce that I polished off 2 servings. And from that day on, I suspect I became rather ravenous, devouring food with unbridled gusto. After that trip, I returned to Japan with a renewed passion for our varied food scene. How splendid it is. Here, food isn't just fuel for life. It's a pure delight, an experience to be savoured at home or out on the town. I once heard from an old boss, back in my copywriting days, that our meals shifted from mere necessities to objects of pure enjoyment. He spoke of the famous tagline, Oishi Seikatsu, the delicious life, crafted by the ingenious Itoi Shigesato for Seibu department store. That one phrase, he claimed, changed Japan's food culture. The message was clear. To be an influential copywriter, you must endure a bit of suffering and then triumph. I was utterly smitten by Itoi Shigesato. Of course, it's a tad simplistic to credit his copy alone. Advertising did play a part, intertwined with the economic and social shifts of the day. Whatever the cause, I owe much of who I am today to Japan's joyous food culture. Oh, a quick postscript. I eventually realized my own limits as a copywriter and switched to being an ad director, figuring it's better to work with a top-notch team than to muddle through alone. Now, let's return to our banquet of thoughts. Eating, you see, carries many meanings. In Japan, food is cherished not only as a source of delight, but also as a pillar of community, and even as a measure of poverty when viewed as a basic necessity. There's also shokuiku, food education for children. I recall a cheeky tale. In one local shopping street, a fishmonger vanished with the rise of booming supermarkets, and soon fish were sold as mere pre-packaged slices. The local kids ended up believing that fish swam around as slices. A proper disaster, leading to a renewed focus on food education. One word, food, can be seen in so many lights. In the art world, too, the social charm of a meal has long been celebrated. Since the early 90s, artists have turned their gaze to the act of dining. Take, for instance, Thai-born artist Rirkrit Tiravanija, who became famed for cooking curry in galleries, blurring the lines between art, life, and community. In Japan, he even exhibited at the Yokohama Triennale in 2001 and was part of a creative think tank by 2017. And then, there's the renowned EAT&ART TARO, whose works at the Setouchi Triennale and Ichihara Art Mix have left quite the impact. At Ichihara Art Mix, he even organized a sports day, a day when, in Japan, it's said that a meal shared after some vigorous play not only tastes divine, but also forges stronger bonds among friends. I took part too, tug-of-war with kids and adults alike, and I must say, the rice balls afterwards were simply heavenly. I've been nattering on about eating, and for good reason. I absolutely adore food, in all its quirky, sumptuous glory. If you fancy that side of me, do peruse my playlist for more eating escapades. Fair warning, most of my shoots are home-based or in swish hotels, so no foreign footage, all right? At home, I mostly indulge in sweets. Japanese convenience stores brim with treats, so I could, in extremis, feast on them every single day without getting bored. Are you a fan of sugar? I've heard those who fancy a tipple might not be keen on sweets, but I'm a bit peculiar. I love both fine spirits and delectable desserts. Now, in the current video, I'm tucking into a hamburger, and, alas, there's no dessert to cap it off. If you notice a trace of dissatisfaction on my face, it's simply because I'm missing that sweet finale. Had there been even a modest serving of pudding or a scoop of ice cream, I'd have been positively radiant. But don't be mistaken, the burger is utterly scrumptious, and I was content enough, even sans sweets. Sweets too vary wildly from one land to another. In Japan, you've got delights like ohagi, zenzai, and anmitsu, quintessential wagashi, with their charming sweet red bean paste. In the Middle East, baklava is the crown jewel. I still recall a morning in Madrid at a quaint cafe, where I savoured a hearty cup of hot chocolate, alongside freshly fried churros, simply unforgettable. And Italy. Each region seems to have its own signature sweet. I often muse over where my cherished tiramisu and cannoli really hail from. I read somewhere that tiramisu began in Treviso, yet the tiramisu I had in Bologna was by far the finest I've ever tasted. Bologna's in northeast Italy, so nearly there, you might say. Oh, well. Right then, my dears, after all this chatter about food today, I must confess I'm feeling rather peckish. Yes, my tummy's rumbling. Won't someone fancy inviting me out for a proper meal? Perhaps treat me to the most scrumptious grub in your neck of the woods. Do share any tantalizing tidbits on where to find the best nosh. I'll devour your advice, though. Alas, mere info won't fill my belly. Thank you ever so much for listening all the way through. On my channel, I occasionally deliver these slightly lengthy little monologues, so if you fancy more of my peculiar musings, do subscribe, and do consider joining my membership. There's a treasure trove of exclusive content that you simply won't see in my regular videos. I'm talking about, let's say, wardrobe changes and the like. Plus, on platforms like OnlyFans and Patreon, you can get even closer to me. So, if you're curious to know more about yours truly, please do pop over, register, and join the fun. Until next time, my lovelies, cheerio and thank you for the feast.